Hey, Sister Kate, live stream. This is spur of the moment, like most of my live streams, and this is also the equivalent of Shofar Mountain reality TV. That's right, because this is real woods behind me. This is part of where I live, and none of this is pre-staged. Like I don't have a little flag, and I don't have a like equipment hanging up or nothing like that. What I have on me is what I normally wear. This is like my everyday carry. Let's see if I can. It's an old messenger bag, and in it, got a knife, self-defense, trimmers for briars, a little girl multi-tool. Shalom, whoever's showing up, shalom. Just showing you reality TV Shofar Mountain style. There's a pair of wire trimmers and this comma, which is what I cut weeds with. Right here is a real goat. She's fussing because she wants real food, which I didn't bring her. And she's already fat. She's jumped up on my four-wheeler. See if I can show you her real quick. There she is. That's Pepper Pop. That's the baby that was born earlier this summer. She's used to going up there to get yummies. And I wanted to do, hey, North South Prepper and Doc B, shalom, shalom. What I wanted to show y'all quickly, this live stream is going to be reality TV because the sun's going to go down, and I'm actually in this area. Let's see if I can tip that. How did I manage that? There we go. I'm actually down in this area to put goats back in a pen over there. So it's kind of forcing me to get to a certain amount of time. This is something that I normally wear. I showed you my everyday carry. This bag I carry is for taking care of chores around the place. But the whole purpose of the live stream is to show you my mid-November harvest. So you've seen my solar dehydrator. If you haven't, go back to some of my gardening videos. Hey, Aidenair, welcome to Shofar Mountain. Go back to some of my gardening videos or my dehydrator videos, and we have a big old solar dehydrator. And as you all remember from prior live streams, one of my goals this year was to try to utilize that dehydrator more with stuff out of our garden. And again, I never live up to my expectations. I always set myself very high standards, and then I don't always meet them. But that doesn't mean I did nothing. So I have a bag of goodies here. This is, I think, I don't know, probably a Walmart, you buy it or something bag. But in it, I've got the produce it yourself examples from Shofar Mountain. And I'm going to start y'all off with healthy food. This is Dehydrated Greens. It is mostly turnip greens. There's a little bit of mustard greens in here. And the dehydrator has made them so dry, they're just really crispy. Like, they'll just fall apart if you crunch them. So what I do with these is I throw them in different foods as we eat them. It could be eggs, it could be macaroni and cheese, it could be a soup, it could be meat that I'm roasting or whatever. But these have a lot of their nutrition in them. I took them straight from the plant and put them right into the dehydrator. So that's my first bag. Feel free to ask questions, comments, anything like that. Y'all will try to get to them. Nice loadout for around the house at Northwest Arkansas Prepper. I'm sure there could be a lot more stuff in here, but this is stuff I use almost on a daily basis. So that's what that is. I should have a first aid kit in there. He'd tell me that. So there's my dried greens. Second bag. Nope, that's not the one. Second bag. Anybody know what that is? I can get that up close. Can you see those? It's also show and tell. It's like guessing. Can you tell me what that is? Kind of a dark red color. I know what to get you as a gift now. Aw, that's super sweet. Brother Travis, can y'all guess what that is? No, it's not mistletoe. No, it's not. Okay. It is a wild plant. Hey, Vicky. Shalom. Vicky, I'm going through some stuff I dehydrated myself. I'm asking a question. What is this? Okay? This is Staghorn Sumac's seed head. It puts it out, and when it's this nice red color, you can make a vitamin C filled lemonade tasting drink from this. So I pulled some off our plants and I dehydrated them. They were ripe earlier. They're ripe like June through August. So that's what that guy is. Say it again, Staghorn Sumac seeds, right? Source of vitamin C. I cannot stress enough to y'all who are getting into gardening that you should plant your own herbs. Hey, Westhold Forge, gather and grow set of amaranth. Good guess, but it's not amaranth. I have amaranth. I have planted amaranth, and intentionally today I was spreading it around, but amaranth is so much smaller. Westhold, maybe you'll know what this is. It's kind of like a show and tell. Oh, the goats are just going at it over there. Can you see that? Might be easier without the sunshine. It's right on me. Can you see that? If you have a guess, you can put it there. I've already said what it was. All right, the third thing is you should grow your own herbs. Well, Sister Kate, I'm not one of those touchy-feely, groovy, hippie chicks. I don't want to grow my own herbs. They're weird. They have weird names. Well, you know what? Almost every single one of them is medicinal, and almost every single one of them is for sale as a tea. Bittersweet, Vicky says. And Beth, shalom, shalom. It is the Staghorn Sumac berries. All right, so the reason you should have your own herbs is because you will save yourself a lot of money. Spices are expensive, herbs are expensive, and most of them are good for you. So I'm going to show you some of the ones that I just got out of my dehydrator. This one, starting off, is mint. And I like mint tea. I actually buy and drink a lot of mint tea. And this particular mint, I brought down from our other house with me and planted it. And the thing about mint is you can use it in your homemade toothpaste. We have wild sumac around us. How do we know if it's Staghorn sumac? Gather and grow. Okay, so Staghorn sumac is like a big weed. It's not an actual tree. It grows a trunk, and it grows kind of tall, but the top of it is going to be covered in these seed heads, and they're bright red. They're going to be standing up, a whole bunch of them. And they don't have a lot of leaves on them, so that's, my biggest clues. Back to the mint. This mint, very dry, very minty. You can use it in your homemade toothpaste. You can use it in your homemade mouthwash. You can use it as a tea. Mint and mint derivatives like eucalyptus and everything. You think Vicks Vapor Rub and Wintergreen, they help clear your bronchial passages. They help reduce swelling. And so I just dried a whole bunch of it. I just cut the little limbs of it and threw it in a dehydrator, and I left it there for a while. Couple of months, not even aware of it. It's so dry. If you can see it, it's perfect for a tea or in any drink. You can put it in water, make like a mint water. It tastes good. So I highly suggest you get that. And mint grows forever. Like you plant it, it's going to keep growing, and it's going to expand, and it's going to smell good. It helps keep away certain bugs. It's good for your fruit trees and stuff. Little off topic. Okay, we can go off topic. But can you make a video of how they used to keep meat back in the late 1700s, early 18th century using salt? Some kind of red packing salt used before modern freezer. Okay, so red salt is basically just salt with some minerals in it. I was down in a salt mine earlier, and I asked them about it, and they said, there's certain parts of the salt that's kind of a pinkish, and certain part of the salt that's reddish. I've never salted meat, but I know basically what people did was just, I don't know if they did it even raw or they cooked it first, but they would put the meat in a barrel, and then they'd put a layer of salt, and then they'd put a meat and then salt, meat and salt. If you look up corned beef is salted beef. It's a simple thing. Don't be afraid of it. Just do a little research. You can get it. All right. So that's the mint. This is sage right here. I brought a sage plant down, planted it in good soil. It's been growing and growing. Sage bush, sage kitchen. Sage is kind of a furry gray. It's actually a lightish green, sage green. Right? There's a leaf. Can you see that? It's kind of furry. It should remind you when you smell it of sausage, because that's one of the main ingredients to flavor sausage is sage. So I use this in my sausage gravy, like when I make that, or if I grind meat and make sausage, sage goes in there. But it also, paired with that mint, is a really nice tea. And sage is also good for you. It's easy to grow. It's one of those plants, you plant it and it's a bush and it just keeps coming back. You don't have to keep replanting it. So I got that out of my garden today, out of my dehydrator, but my plant's still alive. Then I've got dried fennel. We got a fennel plant here. I cannot remember if I planted it or not, but it has grown and spread. And our fennel is not the bulb fennel that you can cook with. It is the herb fennel that you can make tea with. And it smells like licorice and it looks like dill. And so I grabbed some of that. Oh, thank you. So my daughter picked this for me. My husband loves the flavor of licorice. He loves licorice tea. And so with the fennel, I can make him licorice tea. And licorice is good for you too. I think it's good for your gut. If you have a kind of iffy gut system, it helps soothe it. Got a whole thing of that fennel right there and much, much more. I grabbed a bunch in my hand and I put it in the dehydrator today and I'll get it out later. So there's the fennel. And I think this is my last herb. Pretty sure it's my last herb is basil. This is a dark basil. It's like purple. And I just tore the plant off and stuck it in the dehydrator, stems and all, and then when I pulled it out, it just kind of crumpled. But yeah, it's nice and spicy and peppery, and basil's good for you also. And you can make it as a tea or throw it in your spaghetti sauce or whatever. So, got that. Let's see. Hey, Jeremy. Shalom. All right, let's see what else is going on. Okay, so on with the presentation. Sun's going down. When it's down completely, I've got to go take care of the goats and then head back up to the house. I didn't bring a flashlight with me. This is another dried mustard. It's not as bright in color, but it's got good flavor, and I use that in cooking. I showed you a big bag, and then I had a little bag. And then I wanted to show you two things that I gathered today. And I want you to know that I'm an intentional gardener. So when I like a plant, I will bring the seeds down here and cast it, kind of free cast it, and hope it grows, and then continue to do that. So this one right here is from a a white radish plant that Pastor planted this summer and let go to seed. And the heat kind of killed that off, but now these baby radishes are coming up, and one of them is very happy. It's growing these great big greens. This is a dandelion green. I picked off a plant that's growing near the bridge that goes into our garden. That's fresh dandelion, folks, full of nutrients. There's another one. Then it's really hard to tell the radish from the other. This is a turnip. See if I can smell it. Like the radish is this one, and then this is a turnip. And it's the same thing. I threw turnip seeds out at the end of the summer in different parts of my garden, and some of the plants have come up. And they're really good for you. Turnip greens are yummy. I saw them. And then even if you didn't plant anything, I will bet you, if you go out in your yard now, even if you live in suburbia, there's curly dock. So the leaves aren't as curly right now. They're kind of straight. But this is definitely curly dock right here. And we have plants everywhere because I brought the seeds down and cast them about, and they're very happy to continue growing because they're a weed. So that's one of the things that I picked today, which could go in the dehydrator, but I chose to have these fresh. And then the last thing I wanted to show you is for people who've been hanging out with me, guerrilla gardening. Exactly. Mullein. I've got mullein in the garden. I didn't pick any today. If you've watched my videos from earlier in the summer, I had Brussels sprout plants. I had about 6 of them. And the, I'm trying to remember, it's not emperor beetle. There's a kind of black and orange beetle that attacks them every year. And I'm out there every day picking them off. And I did try a few natural things, but these beetles are voracious. So I thought end of the summer, they should die off. Well, it's been pretty mild here, so they're still out there. And so what I ended up doing was buying butterfly netting and covering the plants. They look like little Casper the Ghost figures if I stand in front of my garden. And they're still alive, these sprouts. So I wanted to show you some of the greens I just pulled off of them. Now, some of these greens are not in great shape because I said there's still a few of those beetles out there. But this is a little Brussels sprout that's kind of grown almost like a cabbage head. And I have a whole bag that I pulled off of the different plants. Here's some more. Here's some more. And so why am I telling you this? Because if you're going to be a prepper, if you're going to be a homesteader, you need to think about food that's going to be available for you in a time frame like November. There's another one. Brussels sprouts love the winter time. They don't mind getting snowed on. They don't mind getting frosted. The problem in our area is to keep them alive through the heat because they hate that. But these guys are still growing. And this is nutritious food, right? And it tastes good. You fry this up with some rice, throw some beans on it, bam. I have Brussels sprouts going now. Right, exactly. Kale. Kale's perfect. Yes, I have 2 kale plants up there in my orchard that I planted this summer that I water with duck water that are now coming back strong. I will order a bunch of Brussels or start your Brussels now and plant them now. They like the cold. That's a whole bag of them. And then I had, 6 cabbage plants that again in the summer, it's pretty hot for cabbage, but I cut the heads off and I don't remember what I did. I think I made sauerkraut with them, but I left the stalks there. I didn't just cut the head off and pull the stalk. Well, guess what? The stalks keep growing. This one came off of one stalk and it has 3 of these little mini heads on it that look suspiciously like a bigger Brussels sprout and they taste very similar. But this is in November. I'm able to go out there and grab this. I can make this into coleslaw. I can shred it into my stir fry and things like that. I could dehydrate these leaves and use them in soup later. So that's my haul. That's my big thing that I did this afternoon that I'm pretty excited about. My dehydrator has like 6 trays available now. So I've got to go back up in the garden and there's dill growing, there's the fennel growing, there's the curly dot growing. I've got a few mustard plants. There's one mustard plant. I'm gonna have to take a picture of it one of these days when I'm up by the coop. It's huge. I mean, not huge. Okay, huge. It's not a tree. But for a mustard plant, it's almost a bush now. And it still has fresh mustard leaves on it. So I pick them when I'm up there and I bring them back to the house and I throw them in things like salads or put it on a cheeseburger because it makes it taste like mustard. And it's really good. All right. So my whole point is you can produce this stuff yourself, even though it's November. You don't necessarily have to go to the store. You can have tea. I buy tea. I do buy tea because tea bags are easier, but I intentionally am growing things that can be used as tea. So if I have to, I've got it all right here. And so many herbs will grow year round and you don't have to keep replanting them, that it's not that hard. And things like the sage and the basil can flavor your foods too. It's awesome. So I'm urging you to get out there and do that. All right, so I've talked for 20 minutes. I love Brussels sprouts. Any plants you need to look out for that's not good around your area. People have had potato problems here, and people have had tomato problems here. But I try them every year. Sometimes it's too wet, sometimes it's too hot. Lamp Keeper, shalom, and hello. What do you guys want to talk about? I have one other thing I can talk about. I've got about 20 minutes to do it in. Um, I thought I might do a separate video on it, but I also wanted to get the ideas out while I still had them. So if you guys have anything you want to talk about, let me know, and if not, I will what am I trying to say? I will expound on this idea that I had today. If you have no question or comment. I have nothing to say about the election because I think it's working its way out in the court. Homestead Tessie, mobile home living. Yes, it has been a long time. You've been doing some great stuff on your channel. Keeping it real, said Shalom. Hello. Yeah, and this will save money. Speaking of Homestead Tessie, she's about frugal things. Growing your own herbs, making your own teas, saves you money. All right. No, you guys don't have any questions, comments, things you want to talk about? In the mountain where we are getting winter ready. I bet you are. You've probably got some really, really cold weather and snow. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, so I will talk about that idea that I had earlier today. And it's going to tie in with other videos and live streams I've done. You guys know I love history, and you know I studied history, and I'm still studying history. I got my White War book today, and I cannot wait to read it. It's 400 pages long. It covers 4 years of the First World War that I know nothing about. And so I will probably do videos about that. But the Millennial Man and Pastor Joe were kind of having a conversation about, the times we're in and what to look for in the future and what to be ready for in the future. We tried container herbs for the first time this year. Lavender didn't do so well, but the lemongrass and purple basil did well. Yeah, I had purple basil in a bag here that I dehydrated early. Mine did well too. My lemongrass did great until winter came and then it died. I should have brought it inside. Okay, so let's start in the 1890s. What was life like in the 1890s? Well, the 1880s was very agricultural. At least, people had been moving out into the western parts of the country, and there was the Oklahoma land grab and all that stuff. So life in general in America was very agricultural. And as the turn of the century rolls around and we head into the 1900s, the Victorian era is happening over in England. So you've got the guys and the ladies all bundled up wearing all this clothes, very strict morals, all that. And then in the 1920s, because 1910s, right near the end of 1910s is when Model A Ford gets discovered, when, people go from walking and horseback riding now to some mechanization. So the world changes there. And then there's this World War. And the World War also changes society because it brings about the need for things like rapid fire rifles and mechanized things like jeeps and trucks and tanks and cannons changed. Excellent self-sufficiency report. And so when the 1920s roll around and the war's over and all these people have seen the horrors of that war, they want to forget about it, and we have the flappers. And it's a totally different era. People start smoking cigarettes in public. Women change the way they dress. Men change the way they dress. And it's a big cultural change in the 20s. Well, we're in 2020 now. So we've got about 10 years of cultural change before, if we want to run parallel in history to what happened in America and Europe, we hit the 30s. And what happened in the 30s in America? A depression. And it affected a lot of other countries, right? And so the 30s become an era, and I believe the Dust Bowl was in this time frame too, where people have very little. People with money lose their money. People who didn't have money now have even less money. You have, stories of grandparents who would do things like take their plastic bags or not plastic bags, let me think, like newspapers and read them, and then they would stack them and save them in case they needed them for things like insulation or patching up holes in the house. The dirty 30s or the Dust Bowl, exactly. So parts of our country are also really, really hungry. And there's a classic book called The Grapes of Wrath about a family where the husband had gone to prison for some kind of crime, but he's out, but he can't get a job, and he moves his whole family out to California where they can make money picking grapes. They can be, the seasonal workers out there. And in that book, if you went out and did that, you basically became the property of the company you were working for to pick the grapes. And there's a song about it. Hate to say it, but a depression might be the best lesson society needs. Well, and it's a lesson you're not going to be able to avoid if it actually happened. It's called, the song goes, and I sold my soul to the company store. People essentially went from, like the 1880s, you have your own farm. 1930s, selling themselves back to somebody as laborers. So it's actually a step back from the mechanization and the modernization at the end of World War I to back to an agrarian thing where you had you had the hobos who were riding trains, catching free rides on trains, and they knock on your back door and be like, ma'am, can you spare a bowl of soup? I'll go muck out your stalls or whatever. That was a real thing. Like, all the deer and all the turkey in America in the woods were hunted almost to extinction because people were starving. Soup kitchens and all that happened in the 30s. And so are we looking at a 30s coming up? I think it's a very legitimate question, because we're having a parallel as far as the plague that happened in 1918. We are having a parallel in the cultural changes of 2020. We haven't necessarily had a big war in America, but Europe had a big war, 1914 to 1918, and that kind of pulled us in. And I don't think that's happening for them right now. But if there's an elite, and if there's a dark web, and if there's people who are trying to control other people, and if we throw into that mix mechanization, right? Because 1918, things are getting mechanized, cars, tractors, stuff like that. Well, now it would be digitalization and mechanization, because we've got things like AI and robots and stuff like that. If those things continue to develop the way they are, and you no longer can get $15 an hour to flip a burger because they're going to have a robot doing it, there are going to be disaffected people who no longer can work a lower wage job because now robots are doing it. What are those people going to do? And if you follow conspiracy theories, and I'm not necessarily saying I do, but I do like to try to, be smart about what might be coming and then what to expect. If those elites and those dark web people want to make serfs out of everybody, wouldn't that kind of set that up? If you have all these robots and this mechanization, wouldn't that also set it up if there was a depression? If certain people kept their money, just like when Wall Street crashed, not everybody was poor. John Jacob Astor had a lot of money. I think it's the same time frame. But your lower classes, your middle class, your lower class had very little money. If they can make that happen again, and these people can't get the jobs they want, wouldn't that work it? So now let's just pretend we take this, Jeff Bezos is the richest man on the planet, and how many people is he hiring and are working for Amazon? If Amazon survives a depression and he has jobs for people, what are they willing to do to keep that job? Or let's say it's Walmart. Right? Walmart has kind of a monopoly on things as far as food and clothes and stores like that. Not necessarily monopoly, but you know what I'm saying. If there's a depression and yet Walmart is still around, excuse me, trying to get this thing off. How many people would be willing to continue working for Walmart? And what would they be willing to get paid? And you know what I'm saying? Like, wouldn't Walmart then be able to just kind of say, well, we've decided we're not paying you $15 an hour, we're paying you $5, and you'll be happy to get it, because otherwise you're going to be eating dirt when you go home. You know what I mean? So if we continue to look at that historical model too, why do you think all the small businesses are forced to close, but Walmart and Costco can remain open? Exactly, exactly. And if we continue that model, if we continue the historic model, and we have 10 years of depression, and pretty much everybody, just like in Egypt, everyone sells their body, their animals, and everything to Egypt, and now Pharaoh owns it all. At the end of those 10 years, if Walmart and all those guys own everything, and everyone's poor, and the depression ends and stuff starts to pick up, what came right around the corner from that? A world war. Over in Germany, there's a guy named Hitler who has managed to take over a political party, and then gives these very charismatic speeches and gets his whole country on his side, and he wants to take over the world. If most of the world has been through this depression and most of the world is poor and broke and everything, isn't that the best time to take over the world if you're strong? If you've managed to somehow keep your country together, or your empire? Just interesting questions, just things to think about. What could be coming down the pike? What would we be looking for? And if you are producing for yourself, if you are prepping, if you are arming yourself with skills and ways of producing, let's say you have sheep, now you have wool, and you learn to, when you cut the wool, that you can, make the fiber, and then you can knit the fiber or crochet the fiber. Isn't it going to be harder to get you to say, yep, I want to sell my soul to the company store? Just saying, right? I'm just saying. Something for you all to think about. All right, the sun has gone behind the mountain. I will even show that to you. I'm not using this as an excuse. Literally, the sun just went behind the mountain right over there. So that means I need to get these goats in, and I need to get back up to my house before it gets dark. So, quick questions, and then I'm out of here, folks. Let me see what you've got to say. Mrs. Pleasant said, Shalom, 15 an hour, but 15 hours a week, happening now at retailers. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Let me see if there's any other comments. Hobos had a graffiti to designate friendly or hazardous situations. Yeah, they did. They had a code. Johnny Cash sang the song. People living out of their vehicles, traveling west to California. Are those the people who got paid in tokens, Aidnair asked? Yes, they were. Many people, especially children, died of respiratory illness from the dust. Yes, they did, and some people got buried. Hate to say it, but a depression. Okay, all right. And maybe you guys have made more comments. I am down in a low spot too. Colleen, hello. Mrs. Pleasant said, loves my new crew shirt. Awesome. I'm glad. Some of you have sent me pictures. I appreciate it. I think it's a pretty good design, and it looks pretty good. So next step, not the reason for my video, but since you've said it, Sanctified Supply reached out to me recently and asked if there was anything they could do for me. And one or two of you had said, I would like a hoodie. And I had said, the design I chose for that crew shirt looked bad on a hoodie, was not appropriate. So Sanctified Supply and I have been talking to each other, and we have come up with designs for hoodies. And so they're ordering some amount of these hoodies. It's a different design. I could talk about it, but I really don't. I don't know if it's gonna be the same effect as you seeing them. When they send me a sample, or if I can get it off my Instagram and put it on my page, I will, for hoodies. And they're going to be dark blue. The print's going to be white. They will say Sister Kate Shellfire Mountain somewhere on there. It could be initials, and I think one of the designs has it spelled out. It's based on those 5 things I was talking about. I don't know if I talked to y'all about that, but like tribe, faith, love, and 2 other that I can't remember right this minute. And I'm going to get one because I need some hoodies. I've given away a lot of my hoodies to people, and a lot of them have disintegrated. I've had them so long because I love hoodies. Um, Thank you, Homestead Tessie. You too. You're giving people great financial advice on how to get by on little bits. Um, anyway, in some manner that will be coming up soon. Just throwing it out there because somebody had said they loved their cruise shirt. Paid in tokens. What do you think of? Hang on, Bitcoin. Super cyclist. I don't know anything about Bitcoin. I really don't. I'm old school, so I'm, what do you call it, suspicious of money that's not actually backed by anything. By I mean, it's not like I deal in silver coins and I'm passing them around or anything. I get that. I think are people who made money with Bitcoin, and I think there were people who lost money with Bitcoin. And so I'm not an expert, and I can't tell you one way or the other. The way we think around here is if you have extra money, uh, get stuff. Buy more food, buy livestock, get seeds, first aid gear, that kind of stuff. So you have it in hand in case the whole thing crashes. Not that I think it will, but that's kind of our philosophy. Fiat, there you go. Okay, and my battery power's down to 15%, so I've got to go. Thank you for coming in. I will try to do more live streams, maybe a little bit longer, but this one was definitely going to be a quickie and about the dehydrated food that you can grow and gather right now. All right, bless you all. I got to go get those goats in that pen. Shalom. Oh, I can't shut it off. There we go. Hey, okay. Yes.